Welcome to Positive Moments with Andrew and Don.
Let everything go.
That was such a life-changing experience.
It's a way of life, it's a way of being, it's a way of thinking, it is mind management.
It inspires me to know that there's more to learn every single day.
Welcome back to Positive Moments with Andrew and Don, episode 4, and we're gonna get authentic, positively authentic. We have a lovely guest here today who has a wide background of just experience. Young, but very experienced. And as I introduce this lovely young lady, I want you all to think about what makes you authentic. Because we all are authentic. And today, as we go into this authenticity, we welcome to the platform Ruqayyah Scott. Thank you for joining us here today. Really appreciate you being here, coming here to talk positivity, be positive, shift from anything that may be negative, because we know how important that is. And I want to start by saying, what is authenticity to you?
Well, for me, being authentic is just being you. And in our society, especially in my generation, with social media being such a big part of our lives, I feel this immense pressure for us to be a particular way, whatever wave that we're trying to ride, whether it's whatever wave that is. And I think it's very important to just be you. And I try to be myself in every single situation, whether it's professional, whether it's personal. And I think the more you that you are, the funner you become, because I saw this quote recently where someone was saying that, they still eat their favorite burger is a burger that somebody introduced to them in high school. Their favorite place to go to is somebody that they once dated. And basically saying that your life is made up of several moments. Your life is made up of different things. So just be authentic. If it is you really like a burger that nobody else likes, well, you really like that burger. And that means that when I interact with you, you might be able to introduce me to that burger because you're being authentic, you're being you. And, I'm getting to benefit from you being authentically yourself. And I think that's the beauty of life. And that's what I try to do.
Well, I hear you talking about the burger and like the burger, but I really like that brother across there. But I'll tell you a little secret, He's authentic and I'm authentic and you're authentic too. I mean, we've just been chatting for a few minutes and I could tell already that positively authentic is really what this particular 4th episode should be called on Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. And Ruqayyah, there could be some people looking on who know you, but for the large part, for those who don't know you, you could just tell us a little bit more about you, because I understand when we read your bio, there were so many things that you were involved in, even at 21 years old. I mean, you're almost, to me, I remember you from television, giving some interviews and that kind of thing, and very passionate about some issues that may at times be a little bit touchy, but you certainly have been able to, at 21 years old, to be original, to make your original mark, that authentic mark, just at 21. Tell us, where have you been able to touch so far?
Okay, well, I have always been really passionate about social justice. I think at a very young age, I went to a private primary school and then I went to a government public secondary school. So I was able to see persons from different walks of life. And I just realized, because I thought my private school experience was everybody's experience. And it's only when I was exposed to other people from different walks of life, different ethnicities as well, is when I realized that all of our lives are not the same. And there are people who face so many injustices. And I just didn't like seeing that happen. I didn't know what to do. And then I got this opportunity to join the Model United Nations, where you would represent some country and you would debate on some world issue. And I remember that year was on the rights of persons living with disabilities. And in preparation for this big debate, we debated on several issues from LGBT rights and that sort of thing, women's rights, children's rights, biodiversity. And especially when we touched the topic of LGBT, I remember having persons around me who were struggling with their own sexuality. And then because that person was my friend, I was able to understand the discrimination that they face. Me being a woman as myself, I would get catcalled all the time, and just all of these things. And I realized that why is life just so difficult for us when it doesn't have to be? When it is we can actually, educate persons on respecting women, respecting person's sexuality, or just respecting people in general. That's when I realized that there's actually a solution to all of these problems that we face, and there's something that I can do about it. So that's why I started doing more work in social justice, whether that was getting involved in different youth groups. So I eventually went on to continue with Model UN, and eventually I became the head trainer. So I got to train other young people in Trinidad and Tobago with the same sensitivity that we need to develop, and across the Caribbean as well. And for me, that was such a life-changing experience. I just started getting into more work in that field, and that really sort of propelled me onto the journey of studying what I study, which is economics. And there's a big misconception that economics is about money, but economics really is about human life and the choices that we make and what we consume, goods and services. And people forget that healthcare is a service, access to healthcare, affordable healthcare, access to water provision is a service. So we forget all these little things. So I take a lot of pride in what I study and what I do, which is economics, because I want to be able to use that along with all of these volunteer groups that I'm a part of to really kind of merge the two together to create positive change that's sustainable. And that's actually why I did the economics, because what I know is that we can do how much we want on our own individual level, but for something in terms of social justice, for these things to be sustained, it kind of has to be solidified with policy. And that's why I chose, economics to kind of get into this thing.
So y'all are hearing at 21 years old, she hasn't even dived in yet to so much more that she's accomplished thus far. And I want to take a little positive snippet out of that, because it's never ever too early to start doing something positive. In my opinion, from the day you are born, you could start just by having a positive environment like we've created here today. And you would not have ended up here without a positive environment. What is this environment? I mean, 21 years old, all these amazing accomplishments, studies. I mean, I heard you say at the start when we were talking before, straight A's. An environment is a huge part of this. Yeah. We're born a certain way, but that environment has a huge effect on it. What is this environment?
Well, I definitely, and I would consider myself privileged to have an environment of loving parents, a loving family that would support you no matter what. And I recognize that as a privilege, because that's not the reality of many persons, So having a positive environment is very important when you are trying to accomplish what you want to in life. And aside from just having a positive and supportive family, that also translates into your friend circle, your colleagues, and that sort of thing. So as you get older, what I always try to do is to surround myself with like-minded people. And sometimes initially you might think somebody might be like-minded, but then they would, just kind of fall off, the bench or something, and then you realize, all right, this probably isn't working out. But for me, it's important to be surrounded by persons. We may not have the same goals, but to know that, like the three of us here, positive vibes, trying to make change, positive change, and just fostering that positivity. Because I'm sure the three of us can sit and we can talk about three different things, but because the intent is the same, we could actually be inspired. Somebody could link somebody with something, and something great can come out of it. So having that positive environment, I think, is extremely important, and I think it's something that we should actively seek out,
And you call it a privilege, yeah. But I know Don will do something with the word privilege after I say this. But when we look at privilege and a positive environment, I want everyone to be reminded that it's not impossible to create that environment.
Yeah, it's definitely not
when
impossible.
When we talk about privileged things, it sounds like a challenging, or select few can have that. Yeah. No, positivity is, yes, it is a privilege to be grown up in a more positive environment, but anybody can create that environment. So it's very important to realize we don't want to separate ourselves from that, looking at it in a positive, in a privileged way. And Don, take us on the line of privilege, please.
Wow. Andrew, I know you're going to do that, and I'm always prepared for that, but I'll just start with the first letter with privilege, which is P, and what you're talking there, you're very passionate. So we be privileged and we're passionate about it, but the E, everybody has to benefit from it. So even though we're privileged, it means other people at the end, the E at the end, other people have to know and feel a sense of that they belong as well too, because it's not about us, it's also about other people. And that's something I'm picking up just in chatting with you for a few minutes, because you're about other people. And I'm very curious to find out, who do you see as your role models? Because particularly now in society, we're lacking role models. I mean, the examples, that we have outside there, I always say, Andrew, they have the role model and then they have those who want to roll with the model. It's different. It's a little different, right? But really and truly, who do you see? Because you're 21 years old, looking at the world, we're in a pandemic. There are many 21-year-olds who are now, who maybe want to go out there and do something positive, but they feel stuck. They feel like there's no opportunity for me. They sort of kind of at that passion in the beginning, they've lost their passion. Who helps you remain passionate about what you do? Because you obviously are very passionate.
Well, I mean, I actually don't have a role model. There's no one person that I am absolutely in awe of and aspire to be like that person. I I just get inspired by different people doing different things. Yeah. So because of what I study economics and that entire political space, I see someone as the Honorable Mia Motley as an inspiration. You know, she's an inspiration for me in terms of women in politics, women in leadership. Yeah, I also take a lot of inspiration from my immediate family. You know, seeing how my mom and dad would go through different situations in life, how they would handle situations, that impacts me as well. So I don't have any particular one person, but I have there are some celebrities that I love too. I really love Priyanka Chopra also. I think what she's been able to do from that shift from Bollywood to Hollywood, I think is amazing. And, you know, she inspires me. Superwoman is another one as well. You know, sometimes I watch her videos and I laugh, and Superwoman is somebody who is like, keep it chill, keep it authentic, you know, just make people laugh and be happy. So I have quite a lot.
Quite a little. I have to make a little confession, huh? Because while you were talking, probably a little while ago, you're talking, and in my mind, I was really thinking of Mia Motley, is it?
I like that.
Right? And the thing is, I kind of forgot, I know it's Mia somebody. So I'm kind of going there, okay, I can't ask that question because I don't remember the last name.
Right.
But it's kind of interesting
Right.
that you actually brought up that, because I see you, and I'm an inspirational speaker, but I see you really and truly actually leading government policy on economics, maybe not for Barbados, but certainly for Trinidad and Tobago. Because with the wealth of experience and the way you're going, this trail that you're blazing already, you know, is going to be a trail that many people are going to be able to fit in, you know, and at the end of it, what would you say if you were to put a title for yourself maybe 10 years from now? Because you're not so much into titles, but what would you say would your title be? You would be, what would that be? Besides being a lovely UN representative, what would that be?
Well, governor of the central bank of Trinidad and Tobago. That is essential. That's my goal. It's been my ambition for years now, since I was very little. That I always wanted to be governor of the central bank. I always want to see my name on the dollar bill of Trinidad and Tobago.
Andrew, have to take a little. It's not a pause yet, huh? But let me just take Andrew. You know.
So y'all don't forget the name. Don't forget this name, Ruqayyah. Ruqayyah Scott. Do not forget that name. You will see it somewhere in the future. And while we go down the avenue of, you know, making a name for yourself and becoming the success story that you believe in all the studies that human beings do, there are a lot of people with a magnificent amount of education. But education is in my opinion, 50% of the journey. It's putting it into play with other human beings, other cultures, other religions, etc., to create success on this planet. Positive success. You seem strong. You seem that you know what you're about. So where you're going, how are you going to have this effect? You know, with all that you know, what's the step you're going to take?
So what you said there is completely true. And, you know, this is something I would hear a lot, that we have all of these intelligent people who study this and study that, but where are they? We're not seeing the change. You know, when we talk about how many potholes the road have in Trinidad and Tobago, but we have all these engineers, we have a lake full of pitch. What's happening? You know, and that is something that I noticed from very young. So, for example, right, I study economics, and in the classroom, it's economics. We're dealing with the issue. But in order to impact that and to change certain things, you need to have that cultural exposure, language diversity. You need to understand different economic backgrounds of families and communities. And the only place you're going to get that from is from interacting. So, which is why I did Model United Nations, because I learned about different countries. In my first year, I represented Costa Rica. So I learned about the Costa Rica culture. I learned about their population, their economy. Then after that, I actually represented Asia Pacific, countries in Asia Pacific, and learn about these countries that we might think in the Western world that are so strict. But when you understand where they're coming from, so that's why I did Model UN, so I can learn about different countries. And then I was a youth ambassador through the U.S. Embassy. So I went to the U.S. for a period of time, representing young people of Trinidad and Tobago as well. And there, interacting with persons in the United States, seeing their culture, seeing how the United States implement their policies and that sort of thing. So for me, it's really important, and I say this is why it's very important to have extracurricular activities as young people in school. So when you're in primary school and secondary school, it's very important for you to have other things, because that is what is going to give you the other 50% in order to make what it is you're doing valuable. Because we see it in society. How many doctors that we know that we might see who would get blazed on social media for being racist or being sexist, or lawyers, I mean, look at right now, we're attacking the justice system, you understand? But if it is us as intellectuals, as academics, get that exposure from regular people, you and I, just talking and having conversations and traveling. Traveling is also very important. I believe that if it is your one individual in your country and you never really go outside of your country, you probably won't be able to have that wealth of knowledge that you would get from visiting different cultures and just having that experience. So for me, what I want young people to do is to understand the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that you have to have a multifaceted approach in how it is you're doing anything. So if it is just studying management or you're studying medicine, I know it really is hard to, split your time, but you have to. You have to if this is the change that you want to make, because it's not easy. If it is you see somebody struggling and you want to be a positive influence to them and you want them to have a better lifestyle, it's not easy, because if it was easy, we'd all do it. You understand? If it was easy, everybody would have been happy and jolly. The economy would have been flourishing. Everybody would have been on the same level of income. Everybody would be driving the same car, but it isn't that way. Right? So it's difficult, and I think we have to take that extra step to learn that other 50%, which only comes from interaction and exposure and really going beyond the call and pushing the envelope.
Andrew, you talk about the bigger picture, but we have to recognize first, we have to know that there's a bigger picture. We cannot be very just myopic in our view and just think that this is just it, because there's so much more outside there to achieve. And certainly listening to you, there's a lot more that you are going on to achieve. Now, you mentioned, there's some people who inspire you. You may not see them maybe as a mentor, but certainly you're mentoring people already. I can tell that already. In terms of your siblings, is it yourself?
I am the only child.
Wow.
Only
Wow.
child. So no brothers and sisters, nobody to annoy me.
Wow. Wow. But interestingly, you're not averse to learning from others as well, too, because
it's
even as
definitely not.
you're broadening your horizon. And I think, Andrew, not only governor of the central bank am I seeing, but I'm certainly hearing an ambassador in the making. Because this is what it takes. The longest journey begins with the first step. And certainly you're making some very solid steps, actually, where those steps are being heard and others are actually taking notice of you. There are young people. I want you just for a second, I'll just do this right now. Maybe you may have done this at the end, but I want you to look at the camera, and there's a young person there who likes economics and who may be a single child and may say, hey, what? I think she's speaking to me. I want you to speak to someone in the camera. Look directly at the camera and tell that young, give them a little inspiration. You be an inspiration to them. The same way Mia Motley is an inspiration to you. You just go off the cuff because I know you can do it. Just be an inspiration to somebody in the camera.
All right, well, for anyone that is studying economics and you may not be sure about it, but you realize that there's some value there and that you can do something with it, I want you to understand that your economics is probably one of the most powerful fields. And I mean, I could be biased, but when you think about it, you think about a country, how a country is run. When you think about how everything trickles down to affect every single person, you would realize how much power you hold as a future economist. And then you would realize that the decisions that you make are going to impact everybody. So understand that the field that you're studying is not just something that I'm studying for fun. It's a responsibility of a nation of people, of a region, of the entire world. That's the impact that you're going to potentially have as an economist. You never know, somebody might call you to give consultancy advice on something that's happening in Bangladesh or in the United States or France. And you have to be able to carry your knowledge that you learn, because whatever policy you are going to implement in that country is going to affect every single person. So understand that what it is you're doing is powerful. And in order for the field of study to become so powerful, you need to understand your power in that. So I just want to, send some motivation and love to just stick at it. And even if it's a bit difficult, because trust me, it's not easy for me. And I just keep reminding myself that what I'm doing it's not just about me. It's about bigger picture. Once you understand it, it's about bigger picture and it's not really about you, then you realize that, okay, the late night exams, this isn't about me. This is for the betterment of my country. This assignment is really hard. It's not about me. It's about everybody else. And that makes it way easier. And it just helps you along the journey to really create that positive change that you want to create.
Wow. This is, you hit home there. And I want to take that and put it across the board of life.
Yeah.
Because in everybody's job, in everybody's way of life, the service they provide while being on this planet has the opportunity to uplift human beings, positively impact them. Like I was working with a young girl the other day, and she's a health and wellness trainer. When I started working with her, it would have come across that she's just a health and wellness trainer. But I've got her to realize now that she's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
She's here to save people's lives by showing them how to eat, how to drink, how to breathe, and the list goes on. Everybody's life has a part of that in it, in their job, even if no matter what you're selling.
Yeah.
So I really love where you went there, because we need to all recognize the life-saving potential in every step we take in life. Because we really could step so much more positive and change so much more positive. And when you were talking about I felt like you went to the real in core of Trinidad and Tobago at one point. And when we're talking about change and having effect and having, yes, study and put your study into place to make change in people's lives, in the country, in the economic system, and much more. I still want you to come and dive in more of things you in particular have done, whether you have had to leave studying in school to go and do this experience, that experience. How is your life balanced that allows you to study so much, do so much, but still actually put it into play? Take us some examples of things experiences you've had.
The first thing in that is that you have to understand yourself in terms of how do you study. I am the type of person, fortunately, that I can read something by myself and I don't need somebody to break it down for me in certain subjects, right? So if it's more theoretical, I know that, all right, this is something that I can handle. So there have been many times where I had to rush to an interview in Port of Spain. and I can't go to class. And then I'm like, what do? I have to go to class. It's important. But because I know myself and I know, okay, this is something I can catch up on later, let me see if I can get 30, 45 minutes out of the class, and then let me see how quickly I can get to this interview. Or let me see if I can do the interview first and then quickly get to class. So it is something difficult to balance, but I have had situations where I've had to be out of the island of Trinidad itself, and I would have to, miss something like studying for 2 days. And then I have to ask myself, and then I'm like, but this is what I want to do. Because I'm going there to essentially have an impact on somebody's life. And then, I have to, all right, put things in place and schedule. Okay, if I'm going to miss out these 2 days of studying, then I know I have to make up for it extra on these other 2 days. So I think it's very important that you know yourself and know how you study. I've actually never pulled an all-nighter really in my life. Shockingly, this staying up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to do work is not for me, because if I don't get enough sleep, then my entire day I get very bummy all the time and very, very nervous, very edgy and antsy, and I'm not the nicest person to be around.
You and Don are the opposite. You
So
work all night.
because I know that I can't do that, I say that I need to finish my tasks by a certain time in the night, because I know if I go to continue, and I have pulled the all nighters once in every blue moon. I can count on one hand how many times I've done it, but you have to know yourself. And then there's some people who prefer to stay up later at night and study. So you have to know yourself first. So if you know that you're a late nighter, you're a night owl, and you can do this at night, you go ahead and do that. But you have to know what works for you. So I know what works for me. So that's how, I would schedule my time. But I'm not gonna lie, there have been times, I would say, before we had the pandemic, right? I'd gone to visit a friend in Suriname who I had met on Youth Ambassadors. So another example. I met a lifelong friend from a different country. She was from Suriname, and we kept, the friendship. So I would go and visit her in Suriname, and she would come and visit me. So I went to Suriname, and they speak Dutch. I don't know a word of Dutch. I'm sitting in this plane, and and that sheet they make you fill out, it's all in Dutch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna get off of this plane? When I go there, somebody had to help me, and I went there and I had such an amazing experience with their culture. And then I came back to Trinidad, and I got into this program called Young Women in Leadership, which was actually the first all-female youth parliament in the Caribbean, which was in 2020. Yeah, and I played the Minister of Finance, and we debated on on gender responsive budgeting, right? So I had that experience, and then I was training for Model UN, and then I had school, and I had to do interviews, I had to do promotions for Model UN. So it was from radio to TV to training, getting to the hotel to make sure everything's right, then managing this debate. And I was so bogged down with work, and I was doing so much, so much. I couldn't tell you, like, I was just burnt out, and I had exams as well, midterm exams, and then carnival. I mean, you had to go, a party or one or two, and I was so bogged down with everything. And then COVID-19 lockdown. And I was so happy in that moment. I was like, okay, this is going to be for a good 2 weeks. This will go away just now. COVID, let's give it a 2 weeks, a month for the most. I got some time to relax. I was so happy. So the first week of lockdown, I was home, I was chilling, Netflix, and I was so happy that I got that break. I just didn't know it would last so long. But here we are. But my point is, sometimes we push ourselves too much to the extent where you really can't function in a healthy manner. And I've experienced that. I've experienced burnout. Mental fatigue is something very serious because it takes longer to recuperate. And then when you're tired mentally, anything that you read or you watch after, you just don't want part of it. So it's very important to, strike that balance. So I've definitely had moments, crazy moments, where I just couldn't balance it all. Then, I learned my lesson from that, and then try as much as possible to balance everything.
Wow. You're definitely focused. And I'm hearing the discipline that it takes when one wants to achieve, and when you're forced, inverted commas, to participate in so many different things. And let me just commend you on that, because there's some 21-year-olds who are not as focused, and but even less, they're just not sure where they're supposed to be. And even as you're chatting just now, Andrew, you may have recognized She brought it all back and said, but to the point I'm making. So again, there's a point that she's very much able to get to. And Andrew, I have to put that in a word. I mean, you're expecting, he's probably looking at me and saying, Don, you haven't done a word for a little 2 minutes, so we have to fix that. And you know, for somebody looking on, it's very important that you have focus in life. And that word focus, Focus, and I'll help you let that you participate. What's the third letter in the word focus?
C.
And the first two?
F-O.
F-O backwards is what word?
Off.
So when we focus, we get to see what is of us. And this young lady is certainly showing what she's about, certainly showing what she is about. And even as we talk about focus, I'm just going to give you a little quotation, because if you focus on your distraction, it becomes your attraction, and after a while there's subtraction. There's nothing being subtracted here from this set. There's nothing being subtracted from the topic. So we don't want to take away from you at all, because you're certainly adding value. And you have a lot of value to add to others. Andrew, I could see that question coming out of you, because guess what? There's value in you too. Let me hear you. There's no value without you, by the way. V-A-L-U-L, come on, that's a veil. So come on, there's no value without you. Come on, Andrew, let me hear you.
Thank you, Don. And you know, when you talk about your focus, I feel your focus. I could really connect with your focus. And this focus and drive that you have has come from 21 years of practice. 20 years is a lot. But you would have had a system, a support system, that you really utilized, I should say, to get to this point. And I feel like a lot of people do have the support system, but don't actually choose to use it and see it. Yeah. What are your thoughts on how did your support system help you? And for those, I remember we were talking about when you talk about private school, and some people who've gone to private school actually see the value of them being in private school, not the right place to be, because private school is for a select few, and sometimes people who put in select few want to be with the masses. But when you want real focus and you want real altitude, you can't be with the masses. You look at a country, there's only one leader. And then there's a chain below, and a chain below, and a chain below. Focus is the one person at the top, leadership. You have a very leadership vibe about you, and you really want to get to the top with this focus. Where did this come from?
Well, that's a good question, and I really don't know, because I've just always been like this. I remember from my earliest memory, I always remember I just always wanted to be a cut above the others. That was always my thing. I didn't want to be average, so people would say, I don't think that's realistic. You tell me don't do something, then I'll go and do it. And I'll prove to you that I can do it. That's how I've always been. And I've just had that support system, as you said, to really...
Who's the support system?
My parents. My parents and my family are my support system. And so I'll give you an example. So my dad would usually take me anywhere that I have to go, right? Well, before I could have drive and that sort of thing. So my dad would usually take me everywhere to go. And at a time, a friend told me, you don't feel bad asking your dad to drop you everywhere all the time. Like he has work, he has his own life. He may be wanting to do certain things. Don't you think you're consuming too much of his time? And I was like, I never thought of it that way. So I asked him, it's like, Dad, like, how come you always, why are you always so available all the time? Like, you don't ever say no. And he told me, he was like, because it's important. If you have to go to an interview, it's important. And I want to support you in your dreams and in all of your endeavors. And he's like, if it is what all I can do is come pick you up and take you there, then I'm going to do that. And he was like, if it's not important, if you want to go to a party and it's not that important, then I might tell you, all right, well, I can't do that. But if it's for something important, he's going to do what he has to do to take me there. And I think my parents and my immediate family, my aunties and my uncles and my cousins have always been very supportive. I have a very supportive family in terms of all of my cousins, very involved parents and that sort of thing. And earlier I mentioned it as a privilege, because not everyone is blessed enough to have such a supportive family. But in that, I would also say, just because you may not have it right in front of you doesn't mean that you can't get it or that it's absent. You can find other ways to kind of, pull that and try to get that support system,
But you could have the best support system in the world in front of you, but if they don't connect to your values, they wouldn't support.
That's also true.
How did you get them to connect? Because I see many often times people ready to support, but not that value, because the direction the young one wants to go in is not really the direction the older one thinks is the right direction. How did you get them to connect to your values to take you there?
So I think I'm also again very lucky that I have super understanding family members. But this is where it comes back to that 50% that you were talking about, where you have to be able to convey your academic thoughts and your intellect down to the grassroots. So you are really able to get persons thinking. So for example, some of my older family members would have grown up in a time where we weren't so comfortable with certain things like women's rights and women wearing what they want and going where they want and that sort of thing, right? And I remember having conversations with different family members, telling my mom, telling my dad, but if you actually look at it this way, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then they'd be like, but you're right. So something as simple as clothes. People are always trying to police what women wear. And then I had to, I was explaining to certain family members, but I was like, but how does what I wear really impact this person? Like if you really think about it, right, that individual wants to commit a crime. And regardless of what I am wearing, if that person is targeting me, regardless of what I'm wearing, regardless of where I'm going, the individual wants to do something to me. So how does that have to do anything with my clothing? I was like, all right, when it is we go to a beach, we're always in a bathing suit or what have you. And when you on a beach, generally people are minding their business and people just going into the water and coming back on their little towel and you go home after. And I was like, so why is it that nobody is getting online this in the beach? So I'm telling you, it's not really about clothing. And then the person will be like, yeah, you're right, for real. So it's like, right, now you can't tell me what is I wearing anymore. So you have to be able to bring new perspectives to persons who may not understand, but you have to break it down for them. You can't come with your textbook and,
I feel like Ruqayyah, is so positively driven. And I'm going back to a bit of parenting. I see a lot of people who are very positive, who are very driven. But when they don't get what they want, they vex, they're angry, they're furious. And that rage and anger coming towards parents, guardians, or mentors would subtract the value of what they could bring. When you think about that, that's a big part of it. If you're trying to get someone to take you somewhere and they're not seeing your vision, you give up?
Well, Andrew, I'm inspired to do what I do. And Ruqayyah, if you don't mind at all, if you could spell your name, watch your camera and spell your name very simply. To spell your name.
Ruqayyah.
Andrew, and if you heard that, R-A-Q.
Ruq.
R-U-Q-A-Y-Y-A-H. And you talk about that rage being there at the beginning. So that R, you could have the rage there, but after you have the U, which means that you're still an individual. And then you have the Q, you're going to have some questions about life. But guess what? You have an A, you have two A's in your name, which means that everybody you have the ability to achieve. But in between that, you get a Y. It means yes, you can. Even when you doubt yourself, you get another yes. And I'm sure after the second A, there's a H. Guess what? You could breathe out because we could all do it. So let me just say, Ruqayyah, very, very important. It's not how we start, but it's keeping on the journey and saying we're going to finish and we're going to finish positively. Yeah. It's not about the start because many of us have different starts. One thing in life you can't choose is your parents, but you certainly could choose your parents. I mean, it's so really and truly is how you look at it. And you talk about having a new perspective. And this show is called Positive Moments. You want to say thank you, Republic Bank, because when you're doing this, Republic Bank, and you're supporting us and supporting Andrew and I in Positive Moments with Andrew and Don, the perspective of the bank and people may have of the bank will now change because the bank is really about positive moments as well too. And Ruqayyah, we are really enjoying this. I see we could take the names and do all sorts of things in between. But Ruqayyah, I can even see you. So in addition to being governor of the central bank, in addition to being an ambassador, I also see you some of the children homes in the country. I don't know if you've done it. You may or may not have done.
I've done
What was that experience like?
volunteer
With
work.
some volunteer work, particularly, and I want to talk about the boys and girls homes, yes, but particularly for the young women, because you're 21 years old and you certainly are a beacon of hope. If I were to coin a phrase, you're a beacon of hope for our young people. And they're young people in the children's home. And what they got there, we don't know what the circumstances are. Some of them not so nice at all. But what would you say to that young girl in that home right now? That young girl in that home, what would you say?
Well, I mean, as cliched as it sounds, but you see that dream that you have, that I want to be great, I want to do this, I want to do that. Don't let go of that dream, because eventually your circumstances are going to change. You're not going to be in that children's home forever. Eventually you're going to move on from that. You are always going to have an opportunity to do what you want to do. You know, I hear people saying sometimes that I can't do this because my circumstances not like this, but I can't do that. But opportunities are endless. They come in different ways. You will always get an opportunity. And even with with Model UN, for example, when I am, training other young people, sometimes, they're within the brackets of 15 and 18 as well. And, sometimes you would build relationships with those kids as well. And some persons may not have, the best home. And I remember I was giving a story to one of my friends about this one particular boy. And he was like, don't say that he can't do it. He's just not motivated. So he has to get the motivation, but you can do whatever you want. But it's about getting the motivation to do what it is that you want. So I just, for young women especially, there are lots of societal barriers against us, and you're going to face them. I still face them all the time. But if I just take a step back and I say, well, to avoid this, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything with my life. And I don't want to let somebody else win. I want to win. So just understand that opportunities will come your way. They may not be with you right now, but they will come. And understand that your circumstances also will change with time. Your life is not ever one-dimensional for the entirety of your life. That would be pretty boring as well. So things change, and eventually you just have to keep the faith and keep that spirit of wanting to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish, and then the opportunities will come and you'll be able to accomplish what you want.
And when we look at dreams, because dreams, we all have them. And Don will wrap up the show soon with something that's very important about dreams, because I love this saying that Don has. But dreams, yes, they exist internally, but you're going to take us to a very special place today, where I believe, and I'm sure you do too, a lot of dreams are born there. Information. We need information to follow our dreams. And in my opinion, there are a lot of hidden, but they're very not hidden places in Trinidad and Tobago around the world where we can get this information for free.
Yeah.
And you're going to take us to one of these very, very important places in our country. So I look forward to experiencing your positive place and showing our audience where that positive place is. And Don, as we take us home with dreams. Take us home with dreams.
Yeah, even before I come to the dreams, I want to talk about opportunity, because it's too late to prepare for an opportunity when the opportunity presents itself. You have to be prepared before. And certainly if you're listening to you are preparing yourself even from private school into the secondary school, the government system. You're preparing yourself. So it's very important for you to prepare. Very, very important. And when you prepare, to keep that dream in your mind, and dreams specifically, dreams become a reality for those who do more than just dare to dream. Again, I'm going to say, dreams become a reality for those who do more than just dare to dream. You could feel free to quote me on that, but I certainly want to quote Ruqayyah here. And you need to be positively authentic. There's only one you. If you try to be anything else, all you'll be is an imitation or a fake. This is a real show, no fake, no skin, no trim, no hair, no joke, no coke, you know what I mean? This is a real show, but it's more than a show. We want to show you that positivity exists even in a pandemic. And I say exists, and somewhere there's exits. You might make an exit to make an entrance somewhere else. We want to thank you. Just right now, we take a little pause for a cause, not just because. Be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Positive Moments with Andrew and Don, and I'm Ruqayyah Scott. And today we're in one of my favorite places, which is the library. As I mentioned in the show earlier on, that I'm a huge academic. I'm really into books, reading, into my degree, always trying to find more knowledge. And I think a library is one of those places that you can find knowledge from anywhere. So I've brought Andrew and Don into my world so that they can see and get to know me a little bit more of the academic, more knowledge seeking side of me.
So
Wow.
knowledge is positivity to you?
Yes, for sure, because the more you know, it's simple as this. If you don't know how to make a pancake, then you don't know how to make a pancake, and then you learn to do it, and then you can eat pancakes. And pancakes might bring some sort of joy to you. So I think knowledge is definitely positivity. The more that you know, the more that you can relate, the more conversations you can have with people, the better you become at your job. For example, you kept on saying that I might be an ambassador, but it's important for me to know about different cultures so that I can speak and have conversations with persons with different cultures. And if I want to implement policy, I have to know about people's cultures, and the only way you get that is through knowledge. So definitely knowledge is positive vibes.
Wow. It's interesting because they say the more you read is the more you know is the more places you go. And knowledge, what you know is knowledge is really a combination of know and ledge. What you know could fall off the ledge, especially if you live on the edge. And many people living on the edge in terms of this pandemic time. I mean, even as we walk around, we got a couple books here. One of them, I mean, I just so peaked at, I say peaked by, I don't know, but it's how to keep operating in a crisis. And I mean, this is so, at least for you, in terms of your economic studies, in terms of your economic studies, this I can imagine someone coming and reading at this time. Who knows? Maybe a business idea might be spurring. Is that how business ideas are spurring anyway?
Well,
Because
I think ideas can change your life no matter when it comes or at what moment in your life that it comes, and no matter where you are. And I mean, we're looking at the title of the book, how to keep operating in a crisis. And I think this is exactly what we have all been experiencing in COVID 19 because it is a crisis and it would have affected people differently, people's careers, people's mental health. I mean, for me, it affected my education in a big way. Now I learn completely differently. My experiences, my learning experiences are different. I no longer standing up in front of a class doing a presentation. I have to find other ways to build my presentation skills. And that may have been coming from doing webinars, doing panel discussions, appearing on television for certain things. So I had to find a way to operate within a crisis because I can't wait for the crisis to be over to then work on my skill or to work on my talent because then I'll just be wasting time, you know? So I think, and I really don't want to sound as if I'm forcing people to deal with this crisis in an unhealthy way. But what I'm trying to say is that we can find little ways during this tough COVID period time to really find a new skill or to do something that can propel you to a new journey. I mean, for me, speaking personally, I never thought that I would get into speaking opportunities this much, like doing presentations and webinars and panel discussions, lives on Instagram, Facebook, and all of these things. I would have never thought that economics would bring me there, but it did. And it was because COVID 19 brought us in a situation where I had to find a way to communicate what it is I'm learning to the rest of the world. And this was how it happened. So we have to find ways to, operate within a crisis.
Economics, economy, human beings. There are two places in my world that the biggest dreams exist. And I think a lot of people don't realize it. It's in the graveyard. People don't act upon their dreams. And it's in a library because we get stuck.
Yeah.
And there's only so much we can do on our own. And we don't always have, time is one of the most valuable factors in this world. Not everyone always has enough time to help. But people have time to write books. People have time to go to the library and read. Dreams could be made possible right where we're sitting. this is an extremely positive environment, and I'm so glad you brought us here today. And so glad that you have related a library to your positive place, because it has showed us many different positive places for many different people. We've seen a wide range and a nice balance. And I believe it's important to have reading and information in your life, so that tying it back to economics and economy, when we go out there in the world, we can live amongst our human beings and survive economically.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense actually. And you know, we okay, so persons might think a library is really boring or it's nerdy, but a library is not just a place for you to read, it's also a place for you to relax and slow down. And you come and sit with your own material, your laptop, your tablet, or your cell phone, and you can do work. You can work on your business plan, you can work on new designs for your company, you can work on absolutely anything because it's just a really nice space. But for me, what really brings us all home is that the wealth of knowledge that you get in a library, simply because I feel our society has moved away from reading. We don't read as much, and you get knowledge in books. And we read only what's compulsory. And I mean, I see it all the time. Sometimes you have your lecturer gives you a PDF to read that is 300 pages, and you may not want to read it, but the knowledge is there, and that's how you learn, right? So I think because a library offers such a wide range of things to read, and then sometimes you don't want to always be staring at your phone or your laptop, so sometimes it's good to pick up like a physical book and just read and just kind of sign off from everything and just pick up something and read.
Wow. And just interesting because even another book I'm looking at here, and it says the Six Sigma Leadership Handbook. And I mean, every book here is constructive in a sense, and it really could help us to find the leader inside of us. And part of enjoying a positive moment is deciding, hey, their leaders and their followers, their employees and their employers. Why can't I be a leader? Why can't I be an employer? If I could bring those things out of me, and maybe just it might just take a little nugget, just one nugget, one sentence beautifully articulated can make a difference in somebody's life. And really and truly, this is our national library. And we want to say thanks to them, but really and truly is underused. And hopefully by even watching us, that you can actually come into to the library and sit down and get some information that could make a world of a difference for you. We talk about villages in Trinidad, but the world is a global village. So we're all part of that global village. And I mean, certainly by your travels already, I mean, you've been to a couple countries, and that has just broadened your knowledge to become the ambassador that you already are. So we are excited to have you on Positive Moments. We might even finish in a little while because we have a lot of reading to do. If you have to start now, I don't know when we're going to be finished. But certainly, we can see already, Angie, that her career is going to be a distinguished career, one that makes not just her family, immediate family, proud, but certainly her community, certainly the bank would be very, very happy about where she has gone to as well. And let me tell you, you want the bank happy with you. You know what I mean? Right? But certainly I could see that you're taking Trinidad and Tobago to places and being an inspiration and a beacon, just as Andrew has been through his sport of sailing, and going all over the world as an ambassador, as an Olympian himself. And I'm really, really excited, Ruqayyah, to have you on Positive Moments because you're really helping us to be positive. And this is why, Andrew, I think if you remember our initial conversation, in the middle of the crisis, we said we're going to do something and we're going to get the support. Republic came on board, and then there's no looking back for us. Andrew, how does it make you feel to know that we can even get along the way to meet a Ruqayyah, to meet a young adult who is very focused and how does it make you feel, Andrew?
Well, I could have never, said, Don, I think this is where I'm going to be when I'm 31 years old. So being amongst Ruqayyah, it's a real blessing to be here right now with both of you all. And, I'm very happy to learn from Ruqayyah, to be in the presence of Ruqayyah, so that not only do I know that I could feel the future in economics and other aspects of human rights in our country, it's in good hands. And I hope you make a life in Trinidad and Tobago because the world is ours. You could move where you want. This is my home. You could choose if you want to be your home and your home. So I really look forward to seeing all that you do. And I want to celebrate you here today for all that you have done. And I really, really want to encourage you to, no matter what happens, you just keep going, because you are already a beacon of hope, light, and love. And as we continue with our positivity, I know you will do your best to do the same, but in a way that Don and I are not specialized in. Economics and human rights and all different other aspects you are specializing in. So we want to say thank you. We want to thank Republic Bank. We want to thank everybody who is supporting Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. Anything else you want to say before we close?
I would just like to, just to say to everyone that, life is difficult and life is not without its challenges. And I think every single person has a gift. It can be small, it can be large, but everybody really and truly does have a gift, and you could contribute positively to absolutely anything. I mean, when I was 5, 10 years old, I didn't think at 21 this is what I would be doing, you know. Um, I don't want persons to plan every single thing in their life. But once you figure out this is what I want to do and this is what is connecting with me, we talk about laws of attraction, and we talk about the universe and all of that stuff, So find what attracts you, find what you're vibrating with, and you roll with it, and just naturally. Because good vibes attracts good vibes, positivity attracts positivity. I mean, so that is what you wanna essentially live your life with, a lot of positivity, but be realistic. But realistic does not mean not positive, you understand? So be positive about absolutely everything in your life, and I just want to thank you all so much for having me. I definitely try my best in terms of my field. I'm very passionate about my field, and I see Trinidad and Tobago in a very interesting space right now, where COVID-19 has exacerbated our situation, where we talk about sports, we talk about culture, finance, education, every single thing, family life. COVID-19 has exacerbated it. And my job is essentially to eventually become one of those persons who could implement the type of policies that this country needs, so that we develop, so that we can go to develop status. And that doesn't mean more buildings or anything like that, but it means of the quality of life of every single human being and their standard of living. So that's essentially what I want to do. And that includes, human rights, advocating for women. I'm a woman myself, and I have my unique challenges, navigating spaces and that sort of thing. And for me, I just want to make sure that Trinidad and Tobago doesn't have those issues. And if I can just help one other person, then I know that person is going to help somebody, and eventually we're a small population, so I'm hopeful that it can happen. And then the world is your oyster. So just believe in what you want to, and I thank you so much for having me on the show. It's an honor to speak with both of y'all, and I wish you all the best for your next episodes and seasons to come.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, folks, this is Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. And I'll tell you something. Her name is Ruqayyah Scott. That's our special guest on episode number 4. And Andrew, we were wondering if she would leave us here and go off to somewhere else, and somebody else benefit from this skill. Because it happens, they take our young ones and they take them abroad, and they brain drain, they say. But I'll tell you something, Andrew. I realized that with Ruqayyah Scott, the last 2 letters in the word Scott is TNT. So I feel she's gonna end up here, and and she's gonna really be a positive force to reckon to, a positive person, as we've had on Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. Again, thank you, Republic Bank, on behalf of Andrew, Ruqayyah, and myself. This is Positive Moments with Andrew Don, the end of episode number 4. But hello, come back again, because we have a lot more in store.